Hey folks, this is Jared back with another video on Gamer Slice. Now, for the past couple years have watched the Video Game Awards, and I saw Boogie did a video on this, just kind of going through the nominations and sharing who he thought should win for it. And especially considering that I'm not going to be able to tune into them live, and I was thinking about maybe doing like a live reaction to it, much like E3. Since I can't do that, I might as well just go through it right now, and I'll share my thoughts on some of these nominations, and it's possible I might later on record a reaction thing after the fact, like the next day or something like that. But anyway, so here we go. Let's go through the categories, and we got latest news. Oh, that's right. Here's where we go to see the nominations. Alright, so I've already looked through all these, and some of the categories I may not be able to judge, and other ones I might judge without having played all the games, but I'm going to do my best here and share my complete and honest thoughts to you. So for Game of the Year, we got 5 nominations. Honestly, these titles look a little bit bigger than they did before. But we got Game of the Year, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. So we got The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Persona 5, and then Horizon Zero Dawn. Up till recently, I'm not going to give away what my current Game of the Year is right now, because I want to be a surprise when I do the list, but up till recently, Horizon Zero Dawn was number 1 for me. I do not have a Nintendo Switch or a Wii U, so I have not played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. But honestly, from what I've heard, I think Breath of the Wild will probably win it, and I think it probably should win it. I've heard some good things about Super Mario Odyssey. I've played a bit of PUBG. It's pretty good. It's still a work in progress. Persona 5, definitely a good game too, but it's something I haven't played yet. And Horizon Zero Dawn, really solid game too, but it's not without its flaws. And I think Legend of Zelda and Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn are competing. They're both RPGs, action RPGs, and even though Horizon Zero Dawn's more realistic and might have more realistic animation, I think Breath of the Wild has more charm to it and it's probably more polished. So in its genre, it's particularly better as well. Yeah, okay, something is up with the size. These did not used to be this big, but we'll work with it. So for best game direction, we have, okay, I was almost thinking about changing it, but not going to. So if possible. So best game direction awarded to a game studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. Why Wolfenstein 2 is up for this nomination, I mean, I guess it's just because it's one of the few games that has a really good well, I shouldn't say really good, but a prominent single player this year, or only single player. But honestly, I do not think that should win this award. There's some cool things that they do with it, and some surprises in the campaign, but nothing that really seems too innovative to me or too out of the ordinary. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, the atmosphere in that one, especially since I know they have the VR headset support for it, so I think that's definitely up there. Breath of the Wild, though, great game direction there. They produced a magnificent game. Super Mario Odyssey, get another solid game, and Horizon Zero Dawn. So for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, I think Zelda might win this one. Maybe Resident Evil 7, but I think for this one I'll probably have to give it to Horizon Zero Dawn because it is very innovative, and it does have a very creative vision. I mean, the word creative, that is definitely part of Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a new IP, and it's got a really unique. Honestly, I think the aesthetic is quite unique too. A lot of people don't talk about the aesthetic, but even though it is meant to kind of look realistic, it does have a fairly unique art style to it, in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I'd go with for best game direction. That's Horizon Zero Dawn. Best narrative for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. What Remains of Edith Finch. That one, very walking simulator, very narrative focused. Have not played it though, so we got Nier Automata. I will be playing it this year because I have a feeling it's going to be really good, and it'll probably be on my top 10 games of the year list. But don't know too much about the narrative, except for it does do some fourth wall breaks and a lot of really interesting, has a lot of interesting game design there. So that one's a possibility. Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice. Again, very narratively focused. Wolfenstein 2, absolutely not. No way in hell is that one getting best narrative. The New Order might have stood, even if it was up against these games, still wouldn't have won, I don't think, but it would have had a better standing than Wolfenstein 2. And I have not put out my review yet, but when I do, or if I do, but most likely when I do, I'll probably get this one out. You guys will hear what I think of it, and you guys will know why I'm saying this. So then we got Horizon Zero Dawn. So for best narrative, I have not completed Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm about almost 30 hours into it, and I think I'm about 60% complete with the game. I'm going for a completionist run on it too. But the narrative has not picked up too much. I've probably barely scratched the surface on the story, but I've done a lot of the other side stuff. So for this one, especially with me not being able to judge What Remains of Edith Finch or Nier Automata, I'm going to have to give this one to Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, probably. Horizon Zero Dawn could be a close competitor, though. Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic design and animation. Well, I mean, I don't even really have to say anything about it. I mean, it's Cuphead. It's Cuphead, guys. There's no question about it. Destiny 2, yeah, it looks great, but other than that, it just doesn't have as much charm. Cuphead's got great charm. You know, it's all hand-drawn. You know how many, I've listened to interviews with them. They were at work on this, a very small team, at work on this game, trying to get everything just perfect for years, and they ended up coming out, creating a fantastic, beautifully hand-drawn looking game, and not to mention, they have a really good game on top of that. So, yeah. I mean, it's got to win it. Zelda though, I think would be maybe a runner-up. Persona 5, not as much detail in it, but also very, I think in terms of like an anime look, that's in games. It's the best anime look I've seen. So, but Horizon Zero Dawn, I said that one also has really great, great art direction as well. But I'd have to give this one to Cuphead, hands down. It just looks too beautiful. So, best score or music for outstanding music, inclusive of score, original song, and or licensed soundtrack. Destiny 2 does have some fantastic music. So did Destiny. Cuphead's got some great music too. I think a lot of it original music, fits the time period and the theme. And now my air conditioning just turned on. Hopefully that doesn't pick it up too much. Nier Automata, I think they sent me an email to nominate this one for best score or music or something like that. So apparently the game has a pretty standout soundtrack. I do not know much about it, so I can't really judge that. Breath of the Wild, I've heard conflicting things. I know there's some really good songs in it, especially like certain set piece songs and regional songs, but then there's other stuff that it does. Just in some reviews I've heard it mentioned that certain songs just seem really kind of out of place. It's very, very few cases of that, but overall I think the Breath of the Wild soundtrack, from what I've heard, sounds really good and might have a chance of winning. Don't know too much about the music in these ones, although I did watch Boogie's entire video, and I think he did say something about Super Mario Odyssey. Of course, I will mention this right now, though. I did decide on what I was what I would want to win before watching his video. As I said, I had already went through this before. So, but this one for best score music, it's gonna be a tough one, but I think I'm gonna have to give it to Cuphead, because it's a very faithful recreation, not only of the actual songs being really good, but the actual recreation of the exact sound from that time period. Took a lot of effort into making it happen, just like the art style. So that one I'm going to give to Cuphead. Best audio design, recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. Again, Destiny 2, pretty good sound design from what I can tell. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, absolutely good sound design in that one. That one might do it. Then we got Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, though. I've not played it in VR, but here's the thing. This game, I have heard amazing things about it in VR, and a lot of that, I imagine, can be attributable to the sound design. Again, great sound design. These two, I mean, that's why they're nominated, but it's between Hellblade and Resident Evil 7. I've not played either one. I will be playing Hellblade this year, though. I'm going to give this one to Resident Evil 7, though, because I think the sound design will... They're very much in the horror aspects. I think that's another... This horror genre. Sound is very important in that to create good atmosphere or mood. And then also, I guess, just for your jump scares, sound is also really important for that, too. But Resident Evil 7, I think, relies on that a little bit more. And it does have good audio design. So I'm going to give that to Resident Evil 7. Best Performance, awarded to an individual for voice acting, motion, and or performance capture. Now, here's the thing with this. I looked at this before. Laura Bailey and Claudia Black, Nadine Ross and Chloe Fraser, respectively, from Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, or just the Uncharted series, because Nadine Ross was introduced in Uncharted 4. I don't think you could really give it to one over the other. They both deliver amazing performances, both in terms of their voice acting and their mocap, if they do their mocap. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've watched mocap stuff for Uncharted. But they're more or less inseparable, and I don't think you could really pick one over the other. So I think they're kind of doing themselves a disservice here. They are splitting, just because there might be some Uncharted fans, especially since this is a fan vote, and you have to vote with Facebook, and I don't have a Facebook account set up, and for some reason it doesn't recognize it. It tries to say that my real name is not my real name. So I have just not bothering with setting up a Facebook account. So I'm not going to be voting on this. But I think there are some people that are just going to be huge fans of Uncharted and know that these voice actors are very talented, and they're going to want to vote for one or the other. But then you're going to have, people that have really taken to Nadine Ross's character, and then you're going to have the fans of Chloe. So you're going to be splitting the vote. So just for that reason, I don't think these two are going to win. So I think they're doing themselves a disservice. And on that, note, I am going to narrow down my pick between these three. Aloy, I think Ashley Birch does a good job. These are all very good. And I guess since I know that Melina Jurgens or whatever from Hellblade, I know she does the motion capture. I mean, it's right there too, or at least the facial capture stuff. But it is... Oh, actually, it is for motion and performance capture. Never mind. So, yeah, okay. We're giving it to Melina Jurgens. Ashley Birch would probably be a close second, maybe followed by these, but I wouldn't be able to decide between these two because they're both fantastic. I couldn't really make an argument one way or the other for either one of them. So we're going to have to go with Melina Jurgens for best performance. Games for Impact. This is a weird category. I've liked the category, but the problem is it seems like every year I've played less and less of these games. So this is for a thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning or message. Haven't heard of this one. Heard of this one, Night in the Woods, but haven't seen any of it. Bury Me, My Love, haven't heard of that. What Remains of Edith Finch, I have heard of that. And but I don't know too much about it. So it's between Hellblade and Life is Strange Before the Storm. I know Boogie said that he thought Life is Strange will win it. But when I was first looking at this, I said pro-social. Like, is Life Strange? Does that really have a pro-social message? And I mean, it's sort of, I guess, at least in this one, especially even more so than the first Life is Strange. But in this one, you're kind of seeing the lighter, the less hardcore side of Chloe. You're seeing her softer side. And I guess where the series seems to be leading is towards like a pro-social message. But the moment-to-moment aspects of the gameplay are absolutely the opposite. They are antisocial. They are very much against rebelling in society, about people, the struggles that people face, and about wanting to distance yourself from them. I think in the end, it's all going to wrap up to maybe more of a pro-social message. But as it is right now, definitely not pro-social. This one, though, I think you could consider it a pro-social social message because they're talking a lot about mental disorders, or not mental disorder, but mental illness and other like depression and just hearing voices, just all these different types of mental illnesses. And I guess more or less it's opening up the dialogue for people to talk about it and just to further that discussion. So I think for that from that aspect, it's bringing that important stuff to light, and I would consider that a pro-social message, to be able to be supportive of those type of people. So I'd give the Games for Impact award to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Now, best ongoing game, awarded to a game for outstanding development of ongoing content that evolves the player experience over time. Now, for this one, Warframe, very good nomination. We got Rainbow Six Siege. Again, that game's come a long ways. Overwatch has also had continuous support. Grand Theft Auto Online. Oh my goodness, Grand Theft Auto Online. Tons of stuff for that. Tons of money that's been made. Destiny 2. The game just basically released. So that one's, no, you don't even put that one in the category. And PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. That's going too. But it is still in early access. So here is the way I'm going to approach this one. I think for me, it is a no-brainer to give it to Warframe. And I'll explain why. Other than it just being an absolute great value proposition, not even pay to win, and being a free-to-play game that's really well made. Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, all these games, well, Overwatch is a bit of a different case, but with Rainbow Six Siege and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, this is early access, not finished yet. This one, so you expect there to be progress. You expect it to continue to be getting better and better. Of course, it has made a really big impact, but that's kind of beside the point, I think. Rainbow Six Siege, released incomplete with lots of issues, and they have improved it. The game is a very complete package, and with even more to speak of today. But at the time it was released, it's not. So I don't think this award should be given to a game that released incomplete, and they're fixing the stuff that they should have had in before. So PUBG, Rainbow Six Siege out, Destiny 2, as I said, not even contender. Now Overwatch, the thing with Overwatch is I've played quite a bit of Overwatch. I know the Overwatch community is getting kind of irked at the game right now. There's a lot of players leaving it. I haven't played for a while too, but not for those reasons. It's simply just because I have not had the time, but I'm going to be playing over my Christmas vacation. So I have not left the game. I have not given up hope on the game. But the heroes, some people complain that they roll out too slow. I think they're rolling out at a good speed, but I will say that the current approach to competitive is not working, and we do need a role queue system. There's been lots of people asking for that, and I would like to see changes to that so people actually take the game seriously, because there's lots of toxicity, lots of people throwing, lots of just feelings of losing matches with RNG. So while I think all the other stuff they're doing for the game is great sport, and I do think it is worthy of the nomination for this category, I just don't think it's worthy of this award. And then the thing with Grand Theft Auto Online, like, in terms of the sheer amount of content that they've brought to that game after launch, it should probably win this. However, I also like to look at this from a place of dedication and passion rather than coming from a place of greed. Grand Theft Auto Online has been a huge money maker for them, and you can guarantee, you can bet your boots that if Grand Theft Auto Online was not making Rockstar money, they would not continue to support it as good as they have. Now, Warframe, I imagine, makes a bunch of money too, but I think Warframe, the developers, it comes from more of a place with heart than what Grand Theft Auto does. I know a long explanation for that one, and some of this stuff, when I was thinking about what I was going to say for this, I probably forgot to say some of it, or maybe didn't say it as well in this video, but to me, this is a clear, Warframe is the clear winner of Best Ongoing Game. Now, Best Mobile Game. For the best game playable on dedicated mobile devices, I'm just going to, well, Monument Valley. I know the first one. I haven't seen Monument Valley 2, but I know the first one. It's a really cool game. I like the perspective puzzle genre. I think it's been really cool. This is not the first game in that genre. And although they are few and far between, it is a really cool genre. So I'd have to give it to that if I picked one. However, I don't really play on mobile, don't really know what most of these games are like. So if I had to give it to something, I'd give it to Monument Valley 2. But even if I was voting for this on Facebook, I would probably pass on that one. Best handheld game. For best game playable on a dedicated portable gaming system. Again, same thing. Don't do much portable gaming, although I am interested in the Fire Emblem series. So I might give it to that one. I know people also might go for this one, since I know people are like, oh, it's a 2D Metroid. And people got what they wanted, even though it wasn't a brand new, game of the series. It was a remake, although I do think they had some new levels or new content or something. But I'm going to pass on this one too, but I think it's probably going to be Metroid that's going to win this one. Best VR, AR, or AR game. The best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. Super Hot VR. Really visceral feel to that. I have not played it, but there's lots of stuff I haven't played, as I said. But I've heard from people that it's really good, and it's a game that, aside from just being cool in VR, or cooler in VR, it's a really good game in its own right. Star Trek Bridge Crew, you have to get a lot of VR headsets to play that, and so it's a very costly thing, and it did seem like I heard some bad things about it on launch, like it was sort of a disappointment, but we'll have to see. That one could very well win it. Lone Echo and Farpoint, heard some good things about that too, and I think somebody, maybe it was Game Informer or some magazine or site, in fact I think a couple different sites said that it was the best, at least the best first-person game on PSVR. So, and then there's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. But just for the reasons of the virtual reality support in Resident Evil 7 and how much that intensifies that experience, I'd give this one to Resident Evil 7. Best action game. For best game in the action genre focused on combat. Prey is sort of focused on combat, but not exactly. I mean, it sort of is. I think the combat was okay. It was serviceable. Maybe it was a bit above average, but I don't think it was it's not the main focal point of the game, and it's not at the top of its class either in terms of the combat. So, no, not Prey for that one. Destiny 2, again, Destiny 2's action, and this is best action game also too. It's not just about which game has the best combat, but it's the best game overall. Destiny 2, not a good game overall. Very solid gunplay though. So, not that one. Wolfenstein 2, I'm going to skip to this one. Very good gunplay, but it is very repetitive, and I have my issues with the game. It's not a bad game by any means. I'd say it's a good game. Or it's at least an okay game, but it's not something I'm going to go out there and recommend to every person who wants to play or who likes first-person shooters. So, combat in that is very good, but the game as a whole is not as good as other games here. Cuphead, I would not pick Cuphead because the thing with Cuphead is it is an action game sort of, but the combat, the action elements, it specifically says in the action genre focus on and so it does have a focus on combat, I guess, in regards to that's your main game mechanic. It's kind of like a half boss rush game, and then the other half is just going through levels and shooting things. But there's not much depth to the combat. I guess what it does good, but I don't really think I don't think of Cuphead mainly as an action game. I mean, it's an action platformer, but I think of it more as I don't know, it's basically its own genre. Neo, though, on the other hand, heard great things. The only thing bad that I can say about it from my experience watching the game is that there is a lot of clipping that is going on in that game. I know Dark Souls and Bloodborne have like lots of clipping, and Demon Souls have clipping going on as well, but this one seemed a little more janky than the other ones. But when people explain or describe the combat, they thought it felt great. It felt just like Dark Souls. And it's basically another Dark Souls game, more or less, just in an Asian or maybe, what is it, like, feudal Japan setting. I don't know if it actually is feudal Japan or China or whatever, but anyways. I think that one, Neo, is winner for Best Action Game. Best Action Adventure Game. For the Best Action Adventure Game, combining combat with a traversal and puzzle solving. Assassin's Creed Origins I have not played, but it seems like it's better than previous Assassin's Creed installments. I'll go back to Uncharted: The Last Legacy. I will probably have a review coming within the next month or so of that one. I'm a bit behind on some stuff, and I also had a hard drive crash, so I lost all the footage I had for Uncharted: The Last Legacy and about 20 other games. So I basically, on my PlayStation, was set back, I think, probably about a whole year and a half, 2 years worth of video footage. So yeah, big setback. That's also another reason why we haven't had as many videos on the channel, but I digress. So Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, I mean, Uncharted is the epitome of action-adventure games, in my opinion. Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn, I both think are more, I wouldn't describe them as action-adventure, I would describe them as I already said early in this video, action RPGs. So I don't really think they belong in this category. But since they are, I mean, I think maybe Legend of Zelda will win this, but I don't think it belongs in this category. And again, I don't know enough about Super Mario Odyssey, but this one's more of an action platformer too. So these three we can do. But Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, it's pretty much as good or almost as good as the other Uncharted games, and it's really solid at the action adventure elements of it. It tells a good story, and the platforming is really puzzle solving. There's lots of puzzle solving in it. Platforming, gun combat, all that's really solid. So best action adventure game goes to Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Best role-playing game, and I just realized this is going to take way longer than I expected to do, but for the best game design with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. South Park: The Fractured Butthole. Great RPG. Not as good as the previous South Park game, the Stick of Truth, but still good nonetheless. Final Fantasy 15. I know Boogie mentioned this in this video, and I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, didn't Final Fantasy come out in 2016? And then I was starting to second guess myself, thinking, oh no, maybe it did come out in 2017. But no, it came out in November of 2016. So I think, and Boogie had the perfect explanation. He said it's because this game came out after the Game Awards last year, or at least after the nomination, so it didn't really get a chance, so they're giving it a chance this time. So, okay, whatever. I think that's a good enough rationale, even though it didn't come out this year. I'll let that slide. But nonetheless, I do not think it should go to Final Fantasy 15 because I think nobody talks about it anymore. It seems like it's forgotten. There was, it had a lot of hype behind it, and it released being a good game but disappointing in a lot of other regards. So have to go with the rest of these. Nier Automata, I have not played it yet, but based on what I know about this is a really good contender. Persona 5 also, as far as JRPGs go, amazing contender as well. But purely based off of the amount of player choice and the return, like them nailing the core RPG roots in Divinity Original Sin 2, I have to give it to Divinity Original Sin 2. And besides that, the Metacritic score on this game is incredibly high. I did not buy the game this year, and I've kind of maxed out my budget that I want to spend on games, so I will not be playing this game this year. I will be playing it some other time, though, in the future, believe me. But I'll probably start with Divinity Original Sin first. I will share my thoughts, do videos on when I play those games. Most likely I'll do videos on those for the channel and share my thoughts on them. But I can say that if I did buy this game this year, there's a pretty good chance that this would be my game of the year. Unfortunately, it's not, so that'll just be an honorable mention. But in terms of best role-playing game, no question about it, Divinity Original Sin 2 takes the pie. Best fighting game. For best game design primarily around head-to-head combat. Again, I think this one's a pretty clear winner as well. Injustice 2. Great scores. I've got Diego, on the channel. He's enjoyed the crap out of this game. He still plays it now. It improves on pretty much everything in Injustice, and it has the gear. In this one you can get the gear and level up that stuff separately and change your appearance. And then, of course, if you don't want the gear to be a factor when you face off head-to-head against somebody else, you don't have to, So you can just play on an equal playing field if you would like. So it has the options in there. Great fighting mechanics. It's got, the single player and everything. Really, really easy win for Injustice 2. Best family game for best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. Had to take a drink there. Splatoon 2. I mean, I like the idea of Splatoon. I've seen some of it. Haven't seen any gameplay Splatoon 2 yet, though. But I think that's a top contender. But you got a lot of Mario in this category. It's got to go to one of the Mario ones. I mean, personally, I don't think of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle to be a game you would play with the family. I mean, maybe you would, but it's not like there's no multiplayer aspect. I mean, okay, I'm saying things I don't know, but I did not get the impression that there was any sort of a co-op or local multiplayer aspect to that game. And I think it's a turn-based strategy game, so mainly it's like XCOM. When you play XCOM, like, yeah, you might have somebody there next to you playing it, or you might be playing it yourself, but you know, you're not playing it actively with other people. So this would be is probably my favorite game in this category, but I don't really see it meeting the proper requirements for that, or at least not being the best contender. So Super Mario Odyssey, still don't know too much about it, but I think this would be, like I think Boogie said, this would probably be the category this wins. And I know John and Marshall, they've actually been talking about this, even though they never talk about Nintendo games. Well, John owns a Wii, but anyways, but Mario Kart 8 I know has the multiplayer aspect, so personally, for my vote, I would probably give this one to Mario Kart 8, because I know it's a good game. It's Mario, lots of fun to be had. Best strategy game. Best game focused on real-time or turn-based strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. XCOM 2, great game, really good game of 2016. War of the Chosen, I've also heard good stuff about that one. As you can tell, I haven't played a lot of these games. I already said that, but I'm rambling too much here. Halo Wars 2, kind of a disappointing RTS from the sounds of it. I mean, also they dropped it on console, so you know you're not going to be able to have as much leeway as you want. So between the RTSs, Total War, Warhammer 2, well, even Tooth and Tail's an RTS, but Warhammer 2 takes Halo 2 any day. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, very good too. But honestly, this one I'm going a little bit, not necessarily since I haven't played any of these. I'm going to give this one to Tooth and Tail just because I thought the concept was really cool, the art style looks really good, and it is an easily accessible RTS for newcomers to the genre, or people that particularly are not that good at them, such as myself. So I also considered maybe picking this game up. Unfortunately, I did not pick it up on the last sale, and I probably will not be playing it this year. But I've seen a lot of potential in it. It looks really good. So that will be an honorable mention in my top 10 games of this year. But best strategy game for me goes to Tooth and Tail. Best sports and racing game for the best traditional and non-traditional sports and racing game. I'm probably just going to skip this one. If I had to pick, though, I'd probably say Project Cars 2. Because, I mean, Forza, you know, the whole loot box debacle with that, and the sports games, I just don't like them. They're the same game every year, pretty much, except for they have started doing the campaigns for some of the sports games, so that's a nice change. But yeah, I can't really give a good opinion on this one, so I'm going to skip it. For best multiplayer, it's for outstanding online multiplayer gameplay and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences, irrespective of game genre. Fortnite, lots of popularity with that. Have not got a chance to get in and play it yet. Call of Duty World War II, I made a video about why I think War Mode should be a standalone release, but I picked up the game with Infinite Warfare in a combo pack at Walmart on Black Friday, and I have not played the campaign yet, but I've played the multiplayer, and I still think War Mode should be standalone. I think $15 as is. If it was just for War Mode with the headquarters, maybe $15 might be a bit much unless they add like one or two more maps. They currently only have 3, and one of them, what is it called? Operation. I can't remember what it's called. It's the one where you're basically like storming the beach. That one incredibly defender biased. I mean, you can, as the attacking team, get around it, and I have managed, as I've played it more, I've managed to be more successful at it, but it is very defender biased, so That map not as good. Operation Griffin, I like it. It's pretty good, but there's certain areas of it that I don't like. I think the one that they featured in the beta though was the best map of War Mode, and they need more maps of that quality added in there. So I would hope at least before they move on to the next Call of Duty that they at least add 3 more war maps at a minimum. And I'd like to see them added for free, but they'll probably charge for them. So anyways, enough about that though. Going off on a tangent here. This is for best multiplayer. But I mean, this one, PUBG. I don't know why I should have just scrolled down quicker. I could have avoided the entire talk, but PUBG absolutely wins. I mean, it's made huge waves. It's set massive records. And I mean, here it's not even out of early access, but it's a game that's continually getting better, and there's a lot of fun to be had with it. PUBG, definitely the best multiplayer game of the year. Most anticipated game presented by McCafe. Oh, I didn't notice them presented by McCafe before, but it's award for an upcoming game that has shown significant ambition and promise. Title must be announced and scheduled for release after December 7, 2017. So for this one, for me, it's Red Dead Redemption 2. God of War, very, very close second. The only reason I say Red Dead Redemption 2 is because we already know Red Dead Redemption was really good. This is the sequel to that, and with God of War, they're taking it in a new direction, and it looks super good. It's got my interest, where God of War did not have my interest before, but just them like restructuring the game, bringing back the camera to a third-person behind-the-shoulder perspective. It's brutal, it's slower, it's more just visceral combat. Looks amazing. But I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is still a hair above it, especially since I just think well, it's kind of hard for me to say this, but I was going to say there's more promise in it. There's more we have to go off of there, and a higher probability that it'll be good. But I guess, to be honest, that there might even be some microtransactions or loot boxes or something in Red Dead Redemption 2, so I mean, hopefully after if any litigation goes through, or with the whole loot boxes being looked into as gambling, I think a lot of companies are going to shy away from that. So I don't think we're going to see loot boxes in Red Dead Redemption 2, but we could see some microtransactions. I know Rockstar has said some stuff about that, and they might do a GTA Online thing with it, where they're just going to sell like shark cards, but the equivalent of that in RDR2, which I do not want them to do. But Last of Us Part 2, I'll explain why this is not my number one really quickly. At Paris Games Week, they showed the trailer. Quite simply, that trailer was just not what I was hoping for it. I wasn't even sure if it was Last of Us 2 at first, but when I did figure out it was, I'm like, oh, well, this makes me a little bit less enthused for the game coming out. Not that there's not any really negative feelings of it. It's just not what I expected from the game, and it kind of pales in comparison to that. So I'm just not as hyped for The Last of Us 2 as I was before, but I'm still looking forward to it, and really looking forward to see what Naughty Dog's going to bring this time around. So this one goes to Red Dead Redemption 2. Most anticipated game of the next year. Best independent game for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. Okay, now here's the interesting thing with Cuphead. Cuphead, it is an indie developed game, but the publisher is Microsoft. That is not a non-traditional publisher system. That is as traditional as you can get. But I'm going to change this category a little bit, just so Cuphead has a fair shot of actually, winning this category and shouldn't just be immediately discarded. I'm going to say traditional development system, in terms of like the studio, what their budget is, and I guess more or less we could tie it into the publisher, but the way the publisher behaves, like the culture of that publisher. And in this case, Microsoft basically just let Cuphead happen, let the developers do with it what they wanted. They were just there to support the game because they saw it as a really great game. They didn't really get involved in the politics of the game development or the publishing with Cuphead. So, other than, I guess, securing it as a platform exclusive, and also console exclusive, and then coming also on PC. But I'm going to count Cuphead in this category. So this is going to be more developed focus for the best independent game from an independent developer. Pyre, really good contender. Don't really know much about Night in the Woods. Haven't played What Remains of Edith Finch. I think this one could easily go to Cuphead. I will say I do want to say some stuff about Pyre real quick. I actually started playing this earlier today. I've played it for about a couple hours now. One thing I will say about it is the controls at first are really weird and take a while to get used to, but after a few games, playing the rights, the sports part of it, you get used to it. I mean, I'm still not 100% confident in my ability with those controls, but I am getting progressively more used to it, and I'm doing way better than what I was before. And then Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice really, I think, showed how you could make a AAA game on a AA budget, and that AAA game being AAA production values without any of the corporate bullshit. So this is a really tough one. Pyre's definitely going to be in my top 10 games of the year list. Cuphead I haven't got. If I can convince John to split the cost with me, it may be on the top 10 games of the year list. Otherwise, it is going to be an honorable mention. And Hellblade, I imagine, will probably be on there. But Pyre, I can say from my experience with it, it may not place as high as I originally hoped it would, but it will be placing on that list for sure. So I think for this one, though, to be fair, I should probably only be able to give it to Pyre since it's the only one I've played yet. But I think Hellblade establishes something that I think is very important in showing that what might be considered AA games and independent studios will be the future. They are the future. They can pick up the slack where the AAA developers have been failing us, and in turn, I think we're going to see a lot of AAA developers realizing that these big studios, and there might be a course correction in terms of the direction that the video game industry is going, in terms of game quality and the business practices that they use to support them after launch. So I think Hellblade takes this one. Fantastic, visuals, sound, music, message. The gameplay is really solid, although maybe repetitive in some regards during some at certain points in the game. So I'm gonna give that to Hellblade, but with some hesitation, because I think that Cuphead and Pyre, if I played Cuphead and I play more Pyre, and once I play Hellblade, it could go anyway. But as of right now, I think Hellblade is deserving of that award. Best student game, skipping that one. I don't know any of these games, and it's jury picked anyways, so it's not really going to matter. Trending gamer, for a streamer, influencer, or media member who has made an important impact on the industry this calendar year. Guy Beam, Dr. Disrespect, I have seen the YouTube ads, I've seen stuff. Seems like he's really risen in popularity. Seems pretty funny too. He's got an interesting persona and little outfit he wears there. So if he wins the award, I think it'll probably be deserving of it. Don't know any of these other people here. This guy, in my opinion, would be the least likely to get this. Maybe the least deserving. Of course, I'm basing this on nothing but seeing his picture, his name, and what his alias is. But, he looks like an esports gamer. How is it? I guess he might be trending, but it's, it's an influencer. I think the category needs to go beyond that, just being a popular figure. Steven Spoon, I can't remember, but I know, I watched Bogey's video, and that's where I really I've heard of Able Gamers, the charity, what they've done too. So, but outside of knowing about Able Gamers as being a really good organization, I didn't know too much about him. But after watching Bogey's video, I think the guy seems like a really great guy. I think he's the one that I would vote for this, and he's definitely deserving of the award. Best esports game. For a game that has delivered the best overall esports experience to players, inclusive of tournaments, community support, and content updates, irrespective of genre or platform. League of Legends might win by popularity, possibly Dota 2, but probably League of Legends, since the Twitch counts are insane on that game. I think Rocket League. I didn't actually know Rocket League had an esports league, but that's pretty cool. Don't really care about Counter-Strike. I would give this one to Overwatch though, because this is where where it said there was the award for the best ongoing game. Well, Overwatch I don't think should necessarily win that award compared to the other ones in this category, but for best esports game I think it should, because going on along with the best ongoing aspect of it, there's been lots of recent changes made to make the esports viewing experience and the casting experience better. So for viewers, it's been improved. There's lots of things that were very confusing on screen, or you could get they could get lost with all the action and commotion. Now you're able to see certain status effects better. You can tell when ultimates are charged better, all that stuff. And also there's like the overhead maps that casters can bring up and show more detail. So I think in terms of what's going on in the esports scene, plus we have Overwatch League, which there's the drafting of all the teams, and honestly, I've never really cared for esports, but I actually have an interest in watching esports now, especially after what I've seen going on in the early creation of Overwatch League, what's transpired there. So Overwatch to me is leaps and bounds ahead of what I know of the rest of these games, and I'm definitely excited to see what's in the future of Overwatch esports. So best esports game goes to Overwatch. Plus, I'm just still enjoying the game quite a bit. It's a great game. Best Esports Player, presented by Omen. Let's go. What do we got? Jae Hong. Okay, I know who he is. Basically just the Overwatch guys. Oh, I know who Faker is, though. Don't know who any other guys are though, but I like Overwatch, and Jae Hong, I've seen some of his skill. He's really good, so he's Seoul Dynasty. That one, I think Seoul Dynasty, isn't that the actual Overwatch League team, though? I think they had a really good, or maybe it's not. But anyways, the Overwatch League team that's something like that has really good logo and everything too. But anyways, this player, great player. I would give it to Jae Hong. And then best esports team, Lunatic High is, well, or Cloud9 maybe. Whichever one is American, I'll give it to that. How about that one? Lunatic High, though, I know, is South Korean. They're really good, though, so not knowing which one the American one is, I would go with Lunatic High. But yeah, whichever one's the American team, that's the one I'm going to go with. Best debut indie game presented by Chick Hydra. This one, Cuphead. Absolutely, Cuphead. Without a doubt. It's the very first game from that studio. Amazing dedication to that work and just amazing craftsmanship. I really look forward to seeing what else the studio is going to come out with. Whether or not, who knows. I would just, the one thing I would hope for is that they don't become Microsoft exclusives. I want to see them on all platforms, because the artistic vision and the talent that this team has, maybe they're going to stick with this genre because maybe this is the only genre they can do this well. Maybe anything else they try to touch, if they try to change too much and do something that's not a hand-drawn art style or a different type of hand-drawn art style, maybe they won't be able to pull it off as well. But whatever they do, I am in full support, and I'm going to expect the best from them, because I think there is talent that goes beyond that in here. But it's something that should be imparted to the world and not held back by, I'm getting all preaching, not philosophical here, but preaching. But I think games are a very powerful art form, and then games are an art form. So this studio needs to get their game seen and played by as many people as possible. So I think hands down it goes to Cuphead. Slime Rancher, and I've heard good things about the rest of these as well. Not Golf Story. I have no clue what Golf Story is, but Cuphead, fantastic game, great debut. Very hopeful for what the future of that studio. And best Chinese game, I did not know Monument Valley 2 was Chinese one. Although, didn't Icy came out last year? And it's jury pick, but Icy came out last year. I know it, because I just watched Total Biscuit's 2016 Arbitrary Awards, like last night or something like that. So I know that came out then. Maybe it was in early access, but he never mentioned anything like that. And I've had it on my wish list for some time now, but now that I saw that, it turns out this game seems to be a hidden gem. So I might actually pick it up next time I purchase games, which will probably be sometime next year. But Monument Valley 2, I'm pretty sure actually came out this year, and as you already heard me say some good stuff about it. So I'll give that one to Monument Valley 2. I don't know about any of the other ones. So yeah, this is basically just looks like another League of Legends or something like that. So that is the end. That is the final category. I do not know how long that took, but I think it took a really long time, like 40 or 30 minutes. So I am just going to end this. thank you for spending your time watching this if you already have, and I'm not going to take up any more of it. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time. Well, also leave your comments, leave your thoughts on what should have won in categories. If you disagree with me, tell me in the comments. So anyways, that's taking me more time. It's Jared from Gamerslice signing out. Have a good one.